Today we are honored to welcome Mark Burnett to the show today. I'm very happy about this. He really helps people solve Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. I know this is a very prevalent thing in our society today, and I believe it's in the top 10 leading causes of death, Alzheimer's.
Yep.
And there's so many things that we can do to prevent this, and we just see our family get in touch with this, and it can be very devastating for people, right? So this man has his own story that I'm very happy to get out to people. It's going to be very inspiring, and I'm excited to have him on. How are you today, man?
Yep. I mean, essentially, yeah, how I got started with this, if you don't mind, I'll just go into it. I started back in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, where I was born. Now, Camp Lejeune is well known for toxic water being in there, and you'll see all sorts of lawsuits going on Google and everything else. So, unfortunately, I was born on that base. I got contaminated with the water, and later in life, I formed Parkinson's from it. Doctors definitely pointed to that was the key. And usually that's the key to a lot of people getting Parkinson's is coming in contact with brake cleaning fluid or even glue that holds on hair weaves and stuff like that all contains those chemicals. And they was just banned that chemical last uh, year in December. Took them that long to get around to it. Okay. And the chemical stays in the ground. So that's one way to get it, but environmental factors also are a way to get it. So when I got the Parkinson's was kind of during COVID, so I was a little shy to go to the doctor at first, but I knew I was bouncing off things, tripping, falling, doing things I don't normally do. I knew something was wrong. And that's sort of like person's first indication. And then my finger, when I was on the keyboard a lot, would start trembling. So I started getting the tremors. So all the conditions of Parkinson's were there. I got clinically diagnosed. Yep, you got Parkinson's. Um, I took some advanced tests that were new, and they came back positive. So I decided to take an Alzheimer's test also in 2023. I actually took an Alzheimer's test and tested positive for that. It's a little confusing because some people say, doctors and scientists say that that could also indicate Parkinson's. So, you know, it's not good to have the test, but you can't reverse the test. Once it goes bad, the tradition has been that's it. You don't get better. Okay. So I'm facing two major neurological diseases, and I did not accept what my doctor was trying to give me. They were trying to give me medicine from the 60s, which they gave everybody. And I'm like, there just has to be something new out there. And that's when I started doing research, came across the product that cured mice 100% from Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia. They, in the end, could not figure out how to isolate it and make it into a drug. But I knew the product that they had used, which is a natural product, very rarely seen in the United States. Um, but there are like 100 different species of it, 100 different cultivators, I call it. So I got the right cultivator. I started taking it, and in 6 months, I ran the Michael J. Fox Marathon all the way through and got a medal at the end.
Wow.
And my Alzheimer's totally went away because I had some scary moments with Alzheimer's. So it's like dual hits, where you see how I am today. Okay. Um, so it's quite a turnaround. And I hope your audience gets excited about that and really ask questions because that's the key. I'm patient, one here from the mice. I consider myself one of the mice. Lucky to be doing well. I also have people buying it on our website, mybrainrestore.com. So they go there, they learn a lot, they read about my journey. But also, I'm coming out with a book on Amazon about my journey, but it's also going to be available up on the website. Most of it's already there. And I show all my medical records, everything. I don't hide a thing. I show every test that was done for Parkinson's, every test for Alzheimer's. And October 10th, I just got the test redone for Alzheimer's, of which you're not supposed to be able to reverse those scores. That's impossible. According to Google, according to my doctor, they didn't even want to rerun it. They didn't even want to get in trouble with the insurance company. Like, no, we already ran it once. It's not possible to reverse it. I reversed it, and it went 10% better than it was. And I'm the first person on the planet I know that's happened to.
Absolutely, man. It's an amazing story. I mean, it must be kind of devastating to get that news, but then what you
Yeah,
said is you're not going to accept it, right? And that's really
right.
powerful right there because a lot of us become a victim to the diagnosis instead of like
Correct.
using it to, hey, this is what it is. Now I can move beyond that. Is that right?
That's exactly it. No, I couldn't accept that. I couldn't accept taking a medicine from the 60s, number one. And some other things were like, well, we can put electrodes in your brain and stop the tremors. I kind of pass on that one. Because I actually saw it work. They showed how it worked, and they press a button and you stop tremoring, and the battery wears out, and you start trembling again. It seemed
Yeah,
to me like, and a lot of people are doing it. However, it wouldn't stop them from taking this product because the product actually um, focuses on the glyphalmic system, which was only discovered in 2012, I believe. It's very recent. It's sort of like the lymphatic system, but it's the system that clears the brain of all these amyloid plaques and all these bad things in the brain that cause those neurological effects. So, what this supplement does is actually help reactivate that. And my blood work on October 10th proved that point exactly as I expected it would.
absolutely, man. Like if someone has this devastating diagnosis and your doctors are saying you cannot get well, I would recommend for people to see multiple opinions, right? Because we don't want to like be a victim in a sense. Because even though the doctor they
Right.
mean well, they're not in your shoes. They're not suffering like that, right? And you
No.
have to listen to your heart, like you did, and
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
move beyond that. And that's what real empowerment is.
Well, and also the national average in the United States is a doctor only gets 7 minutes to spend with you. There's two other people in
Yeah,
the other waiting rooms. And so for me to even suggest to them, I want to take this or try this, they're like, nah, just take what I give you. And they don't, when I asked my doctor about this, thing going on in this supplement, which wasn't a supplement at the time, but this research, they're like, I don't have time to read all those journals. And that's sad. But, that's what we've become. And unless somebody comes out with a drug and goes to the doctor and hands them some free samples and gives them some bonuses, unfortunately, they don't do anything. And it's not a good situation to be in. It's just
yeah,
not.
man. It's unfortunate. So, can you explain to people exactly what is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's if they're not too familiar with that?
Sure. Well, Parkinson's is a disease where people typically over time, and usually this can take like 15 years to actually develop. So they may have it, but not know it. Okay. And usually it's caused by there's kind of two things. One, most of the time it's an external component, some sort of environmental hazard, some sort of environmental thing they run into, which again can be TCE is very common, which is it's a dry cleaning fluid. Matter of fact, dry cleaners, that industry has 500% higher rate of Parkinson's than any other industry. I being born in Camp Lejeune has a 70% higher rate of Parkinson's than any other military base in the US. So you can quickly see that factors of where people work, or if they're around factories, or they're in the automotive industry where they use brake cleaning fluids and things like that to clean off grease. These are all chemicals that trigger that. And most people have it in their home and don't even know it. Everybody's got a can of something in the garage, right? and, and the fact that you inhale that, and even if you come back from the dry cleaner and you put the dry cleaning in your things you got done in your car, what are you breathing? The TCE they cleaned it with. That's why it smells the way it smells.
Yeah, man.
So essentially, very hard to avoid. And we're seeing a lot of seniors, of course, get into that. But also, this product, the My Brain Restore, was also proven in the scientific experiments that it can be used as a preventive. So people have it run in their family, like my grandfather had Alzheimer's or my dad had Parkinson's. Then using this to prevent it from actually even getting started works. And that's key also. So it is a preventive in
Yeah,
addition to being actively switching it like it did in me.
got it.
And then Alzheimer's basically is, I should explain Parkinson's. Alzheimer's is sort of similar. but it's affecting the brain's ability to remember things. Um, and some people have experienced this, probably don't talk about it. You walk in a room, you don't remember why, and that gets worse. Okay, or you can't remember where you put your keys or your wallet or something. I was driving home from roads that I had been on and driven for 20 years, and I got lost. And it was frightening. The most frightening thing that ever happened to me. I was like, this is crazy. I don't know where I'm at. I've been on these roads 20 years. I didn't know where to turn. And of course, at this point, you're a guy, right? I'm not going to press the Waze or Google Maps to try to figure out how to get home. I'm going to keep fighting it out. I'm driving around in circles. Okay. Um, and it scared me. It really scared me. And it was those type of things that made me think outside the box. I gotta get a handle on this before it gets worse and I can't remember. It's like having Parkinson's. You fall downstairs, but Alzheimer's, you don't remember why you fell downstairs. If you have both.
Yeah.
so, so I've turned all that around. And part of that is when you're taking this type of product, whatever, you test yourself, because you don't notice being normal. I didn't notice when I started taking it that in a few months I stopped banging into things, I stopped tripping, I stopped breaking my toes. um I didn't notice it at first, and so you don't notice normal, you notice being unnormal. So when I first started becoming normal after taking this, all of a sudden it took that realization, that aha moment, when you're like, wow, I'm doing better. I haven't hurt myself lately. I haven't forgotten where things are. And then as I kept going, it just improved more and more. So only after that time period, only when June came about, remember I took this in January of this year. In June is when I put up the website and started selling it. And I just went up on a couple forums to talk about it, and that was about it. We didn't do any other advertising. 10% of my people ordering were doctors, which amazed me. I did not expect that. I don't know what forum I got into, but these were actual physicians that were retired with these diseases that were ordering the product themselves. And I actually got to talk to one, and he was like, yeah, well, even I know there's nothing else out there.
Yeah.
So and they're trying to come out with things, but the side effects are so huge. This has minimal side effects at all. Matter of fact, the only side effect I've ever experienced with it is a little bit of flatulence, which might be annoying to my partner, but I'll live with that.
Yeah. So you had mentioned like certain chemicals that could be the cause, but
Sure,
what else could be a cause in certain terms of lifestyle that you know about?
sure. Well, two things. Number one, genetics is definitely a key. They have definitely identified people that have certain genes are predisposed to getting Parkinson's, number one, and even Alzheimer's. So running in the family is definitely one thing. Um, the number of chemicals that you could be exposed to that could trigger it is unknown. I will tell you that within the last 3 weeks, there just was an article about dolphins beaching themselves. And someone decided to do experiments on those dolphins to try to understand why. And they found they had Alzheimer's, especially the pod leader. So the pod leader essentially brings people into the beach, the dolphins, and they beach themselves because they don't know where he's going. He's like me driving that car.
Yeah.
And when they dissected them, they saw it. So that means that in the ocean, something their environment wise they're coming in contact with is causing it. So all the different chemicals are not all known, but we know that Alzheimer's, as one doctor said, is the new pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like every dementia, I think, is every 6 seconds someone's diagnosed with dementia. And about every 30 seconds, someone's diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's a huge number, and it's increasing rapidly.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Alzheimer's could be like in the top 10 leading causes of death. Is that right?
Well, it usually a lot of times they won't put that on the death certificate. Now, my friend died of Parkinson's with what's called dementia with Lewy bodies, and they did put that on his death certificate that he died of Parkinson's. A lot of times, Alzheimer's people will have more traumatic things that happen to them. So you can, die because of it, but maybe not from it, if that makes sense. In other words, it may be the mistakes they make or whatever. The brain eventually starts deteriorating more and more, and this may affect other components and organs in the body.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it may be like shocking for some people to hear. Like, why? Because like sometimes people literally can forget how to chew, right? Like it can be really bad in that sense.
Yes. Oh, Parkinson's, one of the reasons we make the product in a powder form is because people can't swallow. So they can't swallow tablets. So that's very common. So we actually make it in a powder form to mix in with yogurt or pudding or applesauce. I made it so it was very palatable, and you can just mix it in sort of like a protein shake, but it doesn't clump like a protein shake. It mixes very well. It dissolves very well, and you can only take it with cold ingredients. The scientists did find that heating this particular ingredient destroyed how it worked. So that was one of the problems. It was never noticed before because years ago it was used as a hot tea, and people would use it that way in other countries. But no one ever noticed that it cured neurological issues because they kept heating it or they cook it like frying in a frying pan. They do it that way. And it's just a seed. That's all it is. But if you heat it, it causes it to not work. So we had to come up with a very special way of making it called ultra chill milled, which we trademarked, which is a way to keep the mills that make it very, very cold so that it'll preserve it the best way for people. And that's the way I use it and the
Okay.
way we make it.
Can you explain to people what amyloid beta plaque is?
Sure, amyloid beta plaque, and actually on if you go up to the my journey on the my brain restoring, you go to my journey section and you go down to the medical part, there's actually a picture of the amyloid plaque in me. I had that special high uh, unique test done, and they actually stain the biopsy they do and show the misfolded tendrils. And that amyloid plaque is what builds up into the brain, surrounds the cells that make the dopamine, which are effectively what gives you stability, gives you purpose. That's the other thing. We were talking about a little while. Sometimes people just don't feel they have any purpose at all, because dopamine controls those things. But it controls muscles. It controls the ability to not tremor. All these type of things. Um, so that's the plaque surrounding it. Now, what is believed this product does, and what I've demonstrated by the last blood test, is that amyloid beta test that I took, and that's exactly what I took, there has to be a certain ratio of it in the bloodstream. If there's not, it means it's stuck in the brain. And it never gets unstuck, according to doctors and scientists at this stage. But when I took this, it got unstuck. It increased its value or amount or ratio in the blood by 10%, which is not supposed to be able ever to do. But this did it, my brain restore. And that plaque has to be, it's a normal process that happens when that glyphamic system gets clogged. Essentially, it's not going in your blood. And when it goes in your blood, those amyloid plaques head into the liver, get broken down by the liver, and then thrown out by the body. And that process gets clogged up. So it's like a clogged sink. I mean, it's the best way to look at it. This is sort of, I don't want to say Drano, but it's sort of the sink cleaner. And scientists call it the dishwasher of the brain. That's what they call that particular mechanism.
Yeah.
But it was only discovered in like 2012, so it's very new discovery that it even existed. Uh, but we know now that it exists, and when it gets clogged, this is what causes all these problems.
That's a glymphatic system, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
lymphatic, which is also, if you note beside it, the nickname is the dishwasher of the brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So these diseases, they're usually more prevalent
It's actually called
in,
glymphatic. I think it's pronounced glymphatic.
yeah, like more in older age, right? But it obviously does not start there. It probably starts when you're a lot younger. Is that right?
Oh yeah, but for me, it started before I was born, when I was in utero, because my mom was ingesting the chemical in the water in Camp Lejeune, And I had nerve problems throughout my younger life, and no one could figure out why. I have root canal in every one of my teeth. Every single tooth had a root canal because they were highly sensitive, and no dentist could figure it out. Why I kept getting these problems. And at that time, Camp Lejeune's, toxic water levels weren't known. No, or if they were hidden, okay, which it definitely was a cover up. So the answer to the question is yes, it starts way early. That's just it. You don't know until about 50% of the dopamine brain cells die or get covered. You don't get the Parkinson's symptoms. So you're already deep into it. Once you start a tremor or once you start some of the clinical symptoms, you're 50% already into that in the Parkinson's side, which is
Got it.
bad.
So, what can younger people do to
Hmm.
prevent this from happening in the future?
Well, the interesting thing with the mice experiments was that they actually tested it on mice that didn't have any neurological disease. In other words, they used the control mice and they gave it to them to see what would happen, and their brains improved by 20%. So they were able to run mazes, and they do a thing with mice where they put them in water. They sort of teach them how to go to a ladder in the middle of a like an aquarium and to go to that spot. The faster they can get to that spot and get out of the water, the better the brain is obviously functioning. The memories were functioning. When they did that, the mice improved by 20% being able to do that. So, we always, I kidded around. One of my sons is 22 and he goes, "Well, can I use it to do better gaming?" Like, probably. Yeah. So, is it a smart drug? Yes. Is it a drug? No, but is it a smart supplement? Yes. For the mice, it was. Um, we haven't had people try it for that reason, but I mean, anything that can improve and make you sharper is a good thing, and it makes sense that it would improve that system. But more importantly, it would prevent them from moving into Parkinson's or Alzheimer's in the future because it keeps that whole dishwasher of the brain open and keeps it functioning. And that's key to how all this works.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like a nootropic, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
all three. It's essentially a supplement and a nutraceutical and a nootropic at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it does all three.
Yeah. The difference between a smart drug and a nootropic is the nootropics are more natural, while the
Yes.
smart drugs they're drugs, right? And
Drugs, right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they have like all these side effects, but like
Yeah, and
nootropics,
ours is
like
natural. I mean, that's like I said, the side effects are minimal at best. So,
yeah. Out of curiosity, what was there any other lifestyle practices that you took on to kind of help heal your brain as well?
well, a lot of people do exercises and things like that. And a lot of people I've talked who take this also do exercises and notice they've been able to do more reps and things like that than they did before. So people are reporting it. But me, I'm a couch potato. I used to be a database programmer. So I'm on the keyboard all the time and drinking a cherry Coke and, and that's my diet. Um, but so you don't need to do that. I mean, it's working on its own. The only thing I can say is that this, uh, like thalamic system, essentially that brain dishwasher works. It's most efficient at night when you sleep. Now, there's two ways to look at that. Most young people will sleep pretty well and pretty solid and things like that after a whole night of coding. I mean, gaming. And but older people, especially those with Parkinson's, have a hard time sleeping. So that may even give them further problems in that they're not sleeping enough when this system turns on at its max to clear itself. I even tell people, get a wedge pillow, put that on there to help that system work to drain properly because that's really use gravity a little bit. But other than that, did I do any exercises or anything before doing the Michael J. Fox run? No, I did not. I even told my wife, I said, I'm going to go down and run the Michael J. Fox thing. She goes, you'll break your neck. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I am. I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
And I never jogged. I didn't run before, but I made it all the way through that event, you know.
that
So,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what I did prove in that is that you don't really have to do anything else other than that. And people have a hard time staying on diets. They have a hard time staying on exercise. Those are tough things for a lot of people to stick with. So this works for the couch potatoes. Okay. I mean, it really does. Or if you're sitting there gaming all day long and you're not, actually doing anything else, it might be helpful.
So, when it comes to Alzheimer's, what symptoms can people be aware of if they may be kind of coming into this, whether if it's like cognitive impairment or is Alzheimer's, like what can they start to bring awareness to?
Sure. Well, I guess I first noticed it by not remembering where I put things or not remembering why I came in a room. In other words, I came into a room for a purpose, maybe to sit down on my computer or do something, whatever. But by the time I got there, I couldn't exactly remember, why I came in the room. Um, Sometimes some people can't remember people's names, and people will make up for it. I've known people with Alzheimer's, I've known people with dementia and things like that who have passed away, unfortunately, from those diseases before I had this. And they were good friends, and sometimes they would answer things in ways that were generic. They wouldn't say the person's name. They just say, "Yeah, he's nice" or whatever, but he didn't say his name. So you start to pick up on it if you're with someone, because you'll catch up on little things where they're kind of masking themselves a bit. But when you clearly ask what was their name, then I'm not sure. It's embarrassing for a lot of people, and it's embarrassing. People aren't going to say, "I forgot why I walked in the room. I forgot where I put my keys." They might, ask their wife or whatever. But after she tells them 10 times, "This is where you put them. It's where you always put them," then you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
So that's a big one.
So, do animals get Alzheimer's as well, like pets?
Well, like we mentioned the dolphins a minute ago, that's for sure. Pets definitely get, cats get dementia, dogs get dementia. And dementia, keep in mind, Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. Most people don't realize that. Okay. 60% of all dementia cases are Alzheimer's. So they're highly related. Um, but yes, they do. And it's something we're looking at too. We haven't experimented with yet to see because cats and dog physiologies are different, even amongst themselves. Okay. But my past experience when I was young was a veterinarian, studying to be a veterinarian. So helps a little, understanding that. So yes, it could work, for them too. I'm sure they're afflicted by the same problems, and it makes a sense why the mice all 100% got cured. They never ran the amyloid beta test on the mice. They simply dissected them and noticed that the amyloid beta plaques were all gone. Everything from Alzheimer's was gone, and everything from dementia was just simply no longer in the brain. They couldn't find it.
Got it.
That meant that dishwasher effect had to be working. Now I opted out of the dissecting the brain part, but
Yeah. So, what are the medications that are used in the clinical setting? Like, what is their effectiveness, and like what is there to be aware of in terms of that?
you mean in drugs that are out there?
Yeah.
Okay, well there are certain drugs out there that basically have been used in cancer for cancer, uh, and they end in the word NAB. So any chemical, any kind of drug you see ends in NAB is typically a drug that's an autoimmune suppressant drug. They are trying to use those in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Okay, they have some tests going on with those. The cost of that drug is about $100,000 over a 3-year period. You have to have constant MRIs. It doesn't include that cost, and you have to have infusions and go to a center to have it infused. So you're talking a 3-year term of taking this drug, which the side effects are outrageous. They're absolutely crazy, to a point where a lot of people abandon it because of the side effects are in fact that bad. Okay, so those are things that you don't want to, you don't want to run into if you can afford not to take those. And that's why we highly recommend, um, you know, trying this first at least. I mean, if it works and you get better with it, the side effects, like I said, are extremely minimal, because it's a natural product. Number one, but also it just focuses on the dishwasher of the brain effect, and it works. Where the others are trying to be repurposed. There's also nanotechnology coming out that it looks like that also improves, the dishwasher of the brain effect. That was just in articles recently. I keep on track of everything, but they're 10 years down the road with that. They just started. Um, and does that work? Those do you really want nanites, so to speak, in your running around in your body fixing things?
Yeah. It's my understanding the drugs, like you said, they have a lot of side effects and they're quite ineffective for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. Well, except for the problem with the brain restore part is just the fact that people get it and uh, they don't realize it right away, or they put it off, and by the time they're getting really bad, the damage has been done. So a lot of people will take supplements for it. There's a lot of supplements out there that are supposedly help people with Alzheimer's and dementia. The problem is they don't get at the root cause. There's one for Parkinson's as an example. It's believed that in the gut, bacteria causes an inflammation, and people will take supplements for that. So did I. A year before I started taking my brain restore, I took all those supplements, by the handfuls. Um, they didn't fix anything. I didn't get any better. I only got worse. But what people don't realize, you've already had the damage done. You've got to have something that's going to clear the brain, not support not getting it. Those are good at not getting it, but you can't really fix it with those things. And we recommend that those supplements be taken along with this. Whatever supplement else you like that you feel is good for Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, take it with my brain restore, because then that'll help you not get it again. Hopefully it'll cut down on that inflammation and other components.
Got it. So it sounds like we need to get to the root cause of the actual disease.
Well, I don't think we can stop the root cause, which is environmental hazards. I don't think we can stop breathing the air, or dolphins can stop swimming in the water. Um, I don't think we'll stop using chemicals. So the root cause, I don't think is going to go away. I think we have to look at it more of a standpoint. How do we reverse what damage that's doing? How do we clear the brain of those amyloid plaques? How do we get those things working again so we don't get these diseases? Or that if we get them, we have a path in which to fix them that doesn't include a ton of side effects. That's the important part.
Right. So we may not be able to like do anything about the environment. We can address like the internal terrain with certain things, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent, although, if you're a construction worker and you're, tearing down a building and, let's say like you're probably digging up TCE that's been in the ground. The TCE that came in from Camp Lejeune was a dry cleaning company that had dumped all the dry cleaning fluid down the drain. And so what it did, it got into the aquifers that fed down into Camp Lejeune. And then Camp Lejeune also used it to clean guns. So they had a lot of women who were cleaning the guns and then having huge amounts of birth defects. This was noted in it's on my website, but I think it was an ABC special that did the Forgotten Babies of Camp Lejeune. And if you go to the website, there's a link there. You can see it on YouTube, and it talks about all these children that had birth defects or died at Camp Lejeune, and they didn't know why at the time. So, can we really stop it? It's in so many different things, and I'm not talking just about TCE. There's many other chemicals that we come in, and microplastics and things like that. There's so many things we come in contact with that could trigger these things. I don't think with the amount of people getting, every 3.6 seconds or whatever, getting diagnosed, that means that this is everywhere, and that's worldwide.
Yeah.
So even bringing in food, we know we just imported shrimp not long ago, and it was infected or had a radiation in it. Okay, it could very easily have these chemicals in it too. You wouldn't know, you wouldn't taste it, but you consume it, and nobody really tests for it. So avoiding it is difficult at best. It's better to set up your defenses, in my opinion, and to try to prevent yourself from moving into that. Don't let those cells die. Don't let those cells get the amyloid beta plaques around them without clearing them out of your system. That's important. It's sort of like a detox, but I don't like to use that word. It's a little overused. Um, and this is actually working on a particular part of the brain, a particular system, like the lymphatic system works. This is a similar system, and you have to target that. And to this point, no one has really targeted that in any kind of drug you can buy or get.
Got it. That makes sense. Is there anything else that people should know about when it comes to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's?
Well, I think that it's can be one of the most terrible burdens on a family imaginable. And I know this again from one of my friends who was in the army, and he actually was just a truck driver. But what he moved around was Agent Orange. And he moved around Agent Orange in Aberdeen, Maryland, not Vietnam, because they tested it in different places. And actually, that has become a site that the Veterans Administration now recognizes. But he had it really bad. His wife tried to take care of him. He became very violent. He became very, he would stare at a mirror for 3 or 4 hours and just talk to it and argue with it and tell it to get out of the house. He had no idea what he's doing. And you can imagine that strain on the whole family. It's huge. The whole family's taken out by it, by one person having this. So if we can reverse it, even by 10%, okay, or even a little bit better, that's so much more powerful for the entire family. And I have people that are buying it for a family member because they're like, it's really tough. It's hard taking care of someone who doesn't know where the food is, or gets the food out of the refrigerator and just sets it somewhere and lets it rot. You know, my friend would take things in his sandwich he had for him and throw it in the toilet and flush the toilet. And one day he overflowed the entire toilet and wiped out the ceiling. Okay, so you can see how, and also Alzheimer's people walk out the door and leave. That happens all the time. They don't know where they're at. Look at me when I was driving. I was lost. Okay. And yeah, I could have used that app to get home, but it just, I'm a man. I didn't want to ask for help. Um, so, that's a great deal of trauma, for people with Alzheimer's. We actually put a Apple tracking device, I forgot what it's called, but the small little tracking disc. Okay. And I glued it to the back of his watch because he always wore a watch. And I glued it on the back and that way for his wife, if he got loose, she could find him. And she did. One time he got out the house and took off and no idea where he was at and had to use the tracking device to find him. And a simple way to find him, and a simple thing people don't do, but you shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to take on these problems. We should be able to beat these problems, not let them beat us.
Yeah. It definitely can be very devastating for the family.
Absolutely. Very scared. Yeah, very scary.
All right, Mark, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us because a
Sure.
lot of people, when we overcome things like you have, and get to the other side of it, like you said, you ran a marathon, I believe,
Yeah, correct.
and just that can be inspiring because we're all going through difficult circumstances in our lives, and
Yes,
the more that we can hear people overcome their own stories, and basically not accept their current circumstances,
right. You can't.
and really kind of strive for more, which is what you did. That can be inspiring, man. So I appreciate you. And if people want
Sure.
to get connected with you, where can we go?
Oh, go to mybrainrestore.com. That's the site. I highly recommend you check out the FAQ and the My Journey, which goes through a lot of that. That's where you can also buy the product. If your health provider doesn't understand what research was done, then they should go to the FAQ and click on health providers. We actually put up there a summary of the tests that were done on the mice and exactly how they were done and exactly how they cleared everything from their brains. So we put up as much information, free information as we can. If they go to the if they go to free PDFs, which is up there under the FAQ, they can actually download my book for free. That's the latest version. We're getting ready to come out with a new version for 2026, which gives a lot of medical updates to it. But yeah, that's the place. I mean, check it all out. And being that you're on their show, I'll tell you a little thing for your people. If they use the code ebook10, when the discount code, they'll get 10% off the purchase. Most people buy a subscription because you really got to stick with it. You know, it takes 6 months, to a year to work. So I've been on it 9 months before I moved the needle on that test. But you feel it in about 3 or 4 months. You know something's different.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you and thanks for coming on.
Oh, and thanks for having me, Anthony. Definitely appreciate it.